Losing a child like I did in the summer of 2019 is the most devastating thing that can happen to a parent. Matthias was a healthy, almost 18-year-old guy who was going to start third grade of high school, and he was going to graduate in the summer of 2020. That didn't happen. One Sunday morning in the summer, he fell ill. He woke up in the morning and he didn't feel okay. But we didn't think too much about it because he had been out partying with his friends the night before. We told him to go back to bed and come back later. When he did that, he had gotten a fever. And just because he had had a tick bite a few days earlier, he wanted to go and see a doctor. So we did that. The doctor examined him, and except that he had a fever, he didn't feel well, there was nothing alarming. So we were sent home with a diagnosis, the flu. During the night until Monday, he vomited once, and he still had a high fever. In the morning of the Monday, he had breakfast with me, and still nothing alarming other than he didn't feel well, and he had a fever. Then my husband, my other son and I went to play tennis, and during that time, around 11:30, he had breakfast with his grandpa. Still nothing alarming. He had a fever, he didn't feel well. We came home at 12:08, and then we found him in the bathroom, passed out, flat forward, and we saw the rashes on his body. We understood immediately that something was really, really wrong. We called 112, and just shortly after that, he stopped breathing. I did CPR on him, and then he got seizures. Shortly after that, around 12:30, the medical people came. First the first responders, and then 2 ambulances. At that time, he was still responding when they spoke to him. But then suddenly something happened. We saw that the heart rhythm went down, and he had difficulties breathing. We also saw a tear falling down on his cheek, and his little brother heard that he said, "Mommy." 12:45, we saw that his pupils became very large. And when they put light on it, nothing happened. We have later been told that that is the time when he died. Of course, the medical people, they worked on him frantically to get him back. And they did it for almost 45 minutes. But in the end, they couldn't save him. They pronounced him dead at 1:32 p.m. When I came to the hospital, I was met by a priest and a doctor. And then I understood that something was really wrong. Shortly after that, the doctor came into our room where we were sitting, and they said, "Unfortunately, we couldn't save your son. Matthias is dead." My first response to her was, "You're joking. That could not happen. We were at the hospital. They were going to fix him. He was going to come home with us." But that didn't happen. We were given antibiotics because at that time they suspected that he had got meningitis. But we got no information about vaccines, and we were not offered any vaccines. And of course we wanted to give our youngest son something, because we didn't want to lose another son. When we came back from the hospital, we started to search about what was happening. What did he get? What was meningitis? How do you get it? Why? And so on and so forth. And we could quite quickly see that we ended up at English web pages and hardly anything in Swedish. So that's when something in my mind started, like, I need to do something. It can't be like that. We started a fundraiser for Matthias, and that was when the idea of Meningokockfonden emerged. I also found out that there was something called World Meningitis Day. And I had my own goal to be on TV that day, which I did. We also started to share information on our own Facebook and Instagram pages. I became a friend of Como, and I also shared my story on MRF and Como's web pages. I also participated in a podcast called Utan dig. And we also started to create our own web page. We created our own symbols to share the symptoms. And in the end, the foundation were registered in March 2020. After that, we also created our own Facebook and Instagram pages. We did not only participate on TV on the 24th of April, we also participated during the summer of 2020, and we had 2 newspaper articles covering our stories. We also had 2 ads in magazines during the fall. And also in the fall, we became a full member of Como. So what are we as Meningokockfonden going to do going forward? We're going to continue to share information, mostly in Swedish, on our webpage and our social media. But not only that, we're also going to produce material that we are going to send out to schools, to medical centers, to sports associations, etc., about this disease. And our focus group is going to be small children, teenagers, and young adults. What kind of information do we want to share with these groups? Well, first of all, what are the symptoms? What do you have to look out for? How do you get infected? Can it be prevented? And are there any after effects? These are 4 things that are quite essential to know. Vaccination is one of the things that we also want to focus on because there are vaccines for meningitis. But unfortunately here in Sweden, they are not part of the national vaccination program. And that is something that we want to change. And this goes hand in hand with the WHO's roadmap to defeat meningitis 2030. I know it's 9 years to go, but still, there is a lot to do if we want to achieve that goal together with WHO. Matthias Kothodeto's bacterial meningitis W and sepsis. And my ultimate goal, both as a mother but also as the founder of Meningokockfonden in Sweden, is that this should never happen again, ever, to anyone. It should not happen that someone gets meningitis and survives with some after effects, and it should not happen that someone gets it and dies from it, because you can prevent it with the vaccine. So please, help us, take action, and help us defeat meningitis.